Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something powerful. What if, just 7 days from now, your mindset was sharper, your energy higher, and your path clearer than ever before? I'm not here to offer fantasy. No magic pills. No overnight miracles. What I'm about to share is simple, practical, proven, but only if you decide to apply it, not someday, not next week, but starting today. The truth is, change doesn't take years. It takes a decision, a moment, a commitment, one shift in thinking, one small action, and suddenly you're not where you used to be. Most people wait. They wait for motivation. They wait for the perfect time. They wait for someone to come along and fix things. But the people who change their lives, they stop waiting. They take responsibility. And they begin one step at a time. Over the next few minutes, I'll share with you 5 powerful principles, one for each day. And if you commit to them, just for the next 7 days, you won't just feel different, you'll be different. Let's begin. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's one principle that acts as the true starting line of all personal transformation, it is the choice to take 100% responsibility for your life. Not partial, not 50-50, not I'll own my part, but the rest is their fault. No, this is about complete ownership, owning everything, your time, your mindset, your results, your habits, your decisions, even your reactions. Because until you accept that everything in your life is a result of something you either created, allowed, or ignored, you stay stuck in a powerless cycle of blame and excuses. Now let's be honest. It's easy to point fingers. It's easy to blame your upbringing, the government, the education system, the economy, the job market, or the people who did you wrong. And maybe those things did play a role, but here's the truth. None of those things have the power to decide your future unless you hand that power over to them. Responsibility isn't about accepting blame for what you couldn't control in the past. It's about choosing how you'll respond in the present. It's the moment you stop waiting for someone else to change, for conditions to improve, for luck to strike, and instead say, if it is to be, it's up to me. Taking responsibility is not always comfortable. It means looking in the mirror when things aren't going well and saying, what did I miss? What did I allow? What can I do better? That takes courage. That takes humility. But it also gives you something far more valuable, control. As long as your problems are someone else's fault, your solutions are also in someone else's hands. But when you own your life, you own your future. Responsibility is freedom, because it means no one can trap you in their story unless you let them. No one can make you feel small, keep you broke, or steal your dreams unless you give them that authority. When you take ownership, you stop living as a victim of circumstances and start living as a creator of outcomes. You begin to shift your focus from complaining to creating, from excuses to execution, from doubt to discipline. Because deep down, you realize that nothing gets better until you do. Think about the most successful people you admire in business, in health, in leadership. They all share one thing in common. They don't waste time blaming. They take responsibility, even for things that weren't entirely their fault, because they understand that growth only happens when you stay in the driver's seat. And if you crash, you learn from it and keep going. You don't blame the road. The real power of taking 100% responsibility is that it rewires your entire thinking. You start seeing every problem as an opportunity to grow. Every setback becomes a lesson. Every frustration becomes fuel. Instead of saying, why is this happening to me? You begin asking, what can I learn from this? How can I rise from this? What does this moment require from me? And slowly, your identity begins to change. You stop being the person who reacts and become the person who responds. You stop wishing for a better life and start building one. You become the person who doesn't wait for permission, validation, or a perfect situation, but instead says, let's go. I'll find a way. That kind of mindset is rare, but it's also magnetic. People follow those who lead themselves. People trust those who don't make excuses, and the world opens doors for those who take responsibility for walking through them. When you choose to own everything, you become unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger, clearer, and more focused than ever before. Ladies and gentlemen, most people never truly live the life they want, not because they lack talent or potential, but because they never define it in the first place. They float through life hoping things will work out, waiting for the right opportunity, the right timing, or some magical breakthrough that will change everything. But life doesn't respond to hope. Life responds to clarity. The people who design their lives, who take the time to sit down, think deeply, and write clearly defined goals, those are the ones who move with purpose. And those are the ones who grow. When you don't set clear goals, you become a wanderer. You wake up each morning with no true aim, no destination in sight. You get pulled by distractions, caught in cycles of reaction, and consumed by busyness that leads nowhere. But when you set a written goal, a goal you can see, read, and touch, you give your mind a target, your actions a purpose, and your time a direction. Suddenly, you're not drifting, you're building. You're not hoping anymore, you're planning. A written goal is more than ink on paper. It's a commitment to your future self. It's a silent agreement that says, I am done living passively. When you write your goal, you make it real. You take it from the abstract world of thoughts into the physical world of creation. And that shift from vague desire to visible intention is the starting point of all achievement. There's something powerful that happens when you see your goals in writing every day. They remind you of what matters. They become a compass that points your attention away from distractions and toward destiny. Most people don't fail because they don't work hard. They fail because they work hard on the wrong things. But when your goals are clear and specific, they filter your decisions. They help you say no to noise and yes to progress. You stop asking, what should I do today? And instead begin asking, what gets me closer to where I want to go? Clarity creates power. The more precise your goal, the more focused your actions become. Don't say, I want to be healthier. Say, I will walk 5 kilometers every morning at 6 a.m. for the next 30 days. Don't say, I want to make more money. Say, I will generate $5,000 in 60 days by launching my freelance service. Vagueness kills progress. Specifics fuel momentum. And when your goal is measurable, your progress becomes trackable. And that tracking builds confidence. Written goals also spark something deeper. They awaken your identity. When you write down your goals, you start to see yourself differently. You begin to shift from who you've been to who you're becoming. You no longer act from your past, you start acting from your vision. That shift is internal, but it changes everything externally. Your words, your habits, your energy, your environment, they all begin to align with the future you've designed. And it's not just the goal that matters, it's the process of sitting down, thinking through what you want, why you want it, and what it will take. That process forces self-awareness. It makes you confront what you've been avoiding. It brings your dreams into focus and makes your actions intentional. When you live without goals, life controls you. When you live with clear written goals, you control life. You become the architect, not the bystander. Most people underestimate this practice because it sounds too simple. But simplicity is what makes it powerful. One notebook, one pen, one honest hour of goal setting can do more to change your life than 100 hours of motivation videos. Because once the goal is clear, everything else becomes a matter of alignment and execution. Your mind will find ways, your habits will adapt, and your environment will shift to support the vision you've committed to on paper. And once you get the taste of progress, the feeling of moving intentionally toward a goal that means something to you, you'll never want to go back to drifting again. Taking responsibility is not always comfortable. It means looking in the mirror when things aren't going well and saying, what did I miss? What did I allow? What can I do better? That takes courage. That takes humility. But it also gives you something far more valuable, control. As long as your problems are someone else's fault, your solutions are also in someone else's hands. But when you own your life, you own your future. Responsibility is freedom, because it means no one can trap you in their story unless you let them. No one can make you feel small, keep you broke, or steal your dreams unless you give them that authority. When you take ownership, you stop living as a victim of circumstances and start living as a creator of outcomes. You begin to shift your focus from complaining to creating, from excuses to execution, from doubt to discipline. Because deep down, you realize that nothing gets better until you do. Think about the most successful people you admire in business, in health, in leadership. They all share one thing in common. They don't waste time blaming. They take responsibility, even for things that weren't entirely their fault, because they understand that growth only happens when you stay in the driver's seat. And if you crash, you learn from it and keep going. You don't blame the road. The real power of taking 100% responsibility is that it rewires your entire thinking. You start seeing every problem as an opportunity to grow. Every setback becomes a lesson. Every frustration becomes fuel. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "What can I learn from this? How can I rise from this? What does this moment require from me?" And slowly, your identity begins to change. You stop being the person who reacts and become the person who responds. You stop wishing for a better life and start building one. You become the person who doesn't wait for permission, validation, or a perfect situation, but instead says, "Let's go. I'll find a way." That kind of mindset is rare, but it's also magnetic. People follow those who lead themselves. People trust those who don't make excuses, and the world opens doors for those who take responsibility for walking through them. When you choose to own everything, you become unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger, clearer, and more focused than ever before. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to change your life, start by changing how you begin your day. The first hour of your morning sets the emotional tone, mental clarity, and energetic rhythm for everything that follows. It is your golden window, your personal launch pad into the day ahead. Most people wake up reacting to alarms, to notifications, to noise, to demands. They reach for their phones, check messages, scroll social media, and immediately hand over their mental space to the world. But the people who truly grow, who build, who lead, they protect their mornings like sacred time. They understand that if you can win that first hour, you take control before the world tries to take it from you. Owning your morning doesn't require perfection. It requires intention. It's about showing up for yourself before you show up for the world. That first hour is where you plant the seeds of focus, clarity, discipline, and energy. It's not about doing what feels easy. It's about doing what feeds your mind, body, and spirit. Waking up even 30 minutes earlier than usual with a plan can give you an edge that compounds over days, weeks, and months. Imagine what happens when that first hour is filled with movement, gratitude, learning, and silence instead of chaos, noise, and stress. When you begin your day in a reactive state, you lose your power. You let the world tell you what to think, what to feel, what to fear. But when you begin your day by choosing your thoughts, directing your energy, and connecting with your purpose, you reclaim your power. You move from reactive to proactive, from scattered to centered. That one choice, to begin your day with ownership, changes your entire posture toward life. You no longer drift through your hours, you dominate them. The most successful people across all walks of life have a powerful morning ritual. They read, they journal, they move their body, they visualize their goals. They connect with gratitude, not because it sounds nice, but because it works. These habits aren't fluff. They are the foundation of mental strength, emotional stability, and consistent performance. They are how you condition yourself daily to rise above the noise, to stay focused on what matters, and to respond to challenges with clarity rather than chaos. The morning is where your mind is most impressionable. What you feed it during that first hour becomes the lens through which you view the rest of the day. That's why starting with stillness, intention, and growth-focused content can create a ripple effect. It's not just about motivation, it's about momentum. The small victories you stack in the morning, like making your bed, exercising, reading a page, writing your thoughts, create an early sense of accomplishment, and that builds confidence, drive, and focus that follows you throughout the day. Even when life feels overwhelming or circumstances feel uncertain, the one thing you can control is how you start your day. That first hour becomes your anchor. It reminds you who you are and what you stand for before the world tries to distract or discourage you. It reconnects you to your vision, your values, your personal power, and when that becomes a consistent pattern, you begin to notice the shift. You start showing up differently, calmer, clearer, stronger. The truth is, most people are not defeated by a single big failure. They're worn down by unfocused days. But when you start owning your mornings, you start reversing that pattern. You begin to take back those days, 1 hour at a time, one intention at a time. You stop being at the mercy of the clock and start becoming the master of your time. That's how transformation begins. Not with massive changes, but with a quiet decision to take back your first hour and with it, your life. Ladies and gentlemen, every day you're either growing or decaying. There is no standing still. Life is always in motion. The question is, are you moving forward or slowly falling behind? Growth isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. In a world that changes every second, the only way to stay relevant, strong, and fulfilled is to make personal development a daily, non-negotiable commitment. This isn't about reading a book once a year or attending a seminar when it's convenient. It's about becoming a student of life every single day and building a mindset that refuses to settle. Growth isn't something that happens by accident. It's something you decide and then pursue. It starts with awareness. The awareness that who you are today is not your final version. No matter how good you are, there is another level. No matter how far you've come, there is further to go, and the path to that next level begins with intention. When you wake up each morning with a hunger to grow, to learn, to sharpen your mind and strengthen your character, you set yourself apart from the masses, because most people are waiting for motivation, for opportunity, for permission. But growth-minded people, they create it. The process of growth is often invisible at first. Reading 10 pages a day, listening to an audiobook while driving, reflecting for 5 minutes in a journal, these acts seem small. But small things done consistently create massive transformation. You don't notice it in a day, but in a month, a year, a decade, it becomes undeniable. Your thinking sharpens, your communication improves, your confidence expands, your ability to lead, earn, and influence multiplies, and it all traces back to one powerful habit, the decision to grow daily. Personal development is not just about information, it's about transformation. You're not just collecting facts, you're rewiring your beliefs, upgrading your mindset, and expanding what you believe is possible for your life. It's the shift from "I can't" to "I will figure it out," from "I'm not ready" to "I'm becoming ready" every day. It's about feeding your mind with ideas that inspire action, fuel belief, and destroy limitations. The world doesn't pay you for the hours you put in. It pays you for the value you bring, and your value increases as you grow. Growth is not always comfortable. It often challenges you, exposes your weaknesses, and forces you to confront what you've ignored. But that's where change lives. You can't expand inside your comfort zone. True growth stretches you. It demands discipline. It requires you to show up even when you don't feel like it. But the reward? The reward is confidence, clarity, and capability that no one can take away from you. Daily growth also builds resilience. Life will throw storms your way. Challenges, losses, setbacks, they are irritable. But the person who has been feeding their mind, strengthening their spirit, and developing their skills daily doesn't crumble. They adapt, they bend, but they don't break. Because they've trained themselves to rise, they've built a foundation inside that is stronger than any circumstance outside, and that kind of strength, that's what turns ordinary people into extraordinary leaders. Committing to personal development also changes how you see the world. Instead of problems, you start to see possibilities. Instead of fear, you feel curiosity. Instead of excuses, you build solutions. And this shift doesn't just affect you, it affects everyone around you. Your energy improves. Your communication becomes clearer. You start inspiring others, not with your words, but with your presence. Every great achiever you've ever admired in business, sports, or leadership, they didn't stumble into excellence. They committed to growth long before the world knew their name. They read, they studied, they trained, they asked questions, and over time, that investment paid off in ways most people never see, because personal development is often silent, but the results are loud. So if you want to change your income, your influence, your relationships, or your results, start by changing your input. Fill your mind with greatness daily. Don't wait for the perfect course or the perfect book. Start with what you have. Read a page. Reflect for 5 minutes. Ask better questions. Stay curious. Because when you stop growing, you start dying, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And when you commit to growing daily, you begin to unlock potential you didn't even know you had. Ladies and gentlemen, the people in your life are not neutral. They're either pulling you forward or holding you back. Every conversation you have, every interaction you engage in, every person you give your time, energy, and trust to, they all shape the direction of your mindset and ultimately the outcome of your life. You may think you're choosing your future by setting goals or visualizing success, but in reality, your future is quietly being shaped by something far more subtle. Your circle. The circle you keep is the hidden script running in the background of your daily life. You may not notice it, but it is constantly feeding your standards, your self-image, and your level of ambition. Sit around 5 people who gossip, waste time, and fear change, and you will subconsciously lower your standards to avoid standing out. Sit around 5 people who are focused, disciplined, and constantly evolving, and you will naturally elevate just to keep pace, not because you're trying to be someone you're not, but because you're surrounded by a higher frequency. That frequency becomes your new normal. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to the level of your environment. That's why protecting your circle isn't about arrogance. It's about alignment. If your vision is big, your standards must be high. If your dreams are uncommon, your circle must be uncommon. You cannot carry a billionaire vision surrounded by broke mindsets. You cannot build an extraordinary life while constantly engaging with people who settle for average. The pull is too strong. Eventually, they won't become more like you. You will become more like them. Sometimes upgrading your circle doesn't mean cutting people off with anger or judgment. It means gently creating distance. It means giving your growth the space it needs to breathe. You're not abandoning people, you're just choosing to honor your evolution. You're no longer willing to trade your destiny for temporary comfort or shallow familiarity. This takes courage. It may feel lonely at first, but loneliness during transformation is far better than regret after stagnation. Real strength comes from exposure. You have to put yourself in rooms that challenge your identity. Sit at tables where you're not the smartest, most accomplished, or most motivated person. Let your ego be humbled. Let your standards rise. Let your mind stretch. Because growth doesn't happen in echo chambers. It happens in environments that demand more from you than you've ever demanded from yourself. Energy is everything. If you want to fly, you can't hang with people who live in cages. If you want to be free, you can't be around those who cling to chains. Your circle should push you to dream louder, execute faster, live cleaner, and think deeper. Every voice in your life is either building your belief or feeding your doubt. Listen carefully. Pay attention to how you feel after talking to someone. Are you inspired or are you drained? If you're serious about success, then you must become deliberate with your proximity. Elevation doesn't happen by accident. You need to put yourself in the flow of powerful ideas, bold conversations, and intentional people. This could mean joining mastermind groups, attending events, reading books by world-class thinkers, following leaders who represent the version of you that you're becoming. Even if you don't know them personally, let them mentor you through their words, their values, their standards. Soak in their energy until it becomes your own, and then become that person for someone else. Lead by example. Speak life. Show consistency. Build excellence into your habits. When others meet you, let your presence remind them of what's possible. Become the strength you once searched for in others, because eventually you'll realize that the real power of a great circle is not just what you get, it's who you become in the process. Your circle is your mirror. If you want to change your reflection, change your environment. Stand in rooms that make you nervous. Have conversations that challenge your complacency. Spend time with those who force you to level up, not because they demand it, but because their very presence makes you want to become better. This isn't just a tactic, it's a transformation once you feel it. Once you truly experience what it's like to be surrounded by strength, you'll never go back. Because strength awakens strength. Greatness activates greatness. And your future self is waiting on the other side of that decision. Ladies and gentlemen, transformation doesn't require a lifetime. It requires a decision to stop blaming and start owning. A decision to design your life instead of drifting through it. A decision to rise early, sharpen your mind daily, and walk with people who lift you higher. Each of these 5 principles may seem simple, even obvious, but the power isn't in knowing them. The power is in living them. Because once you take full responsibility for your life, you reclaim your power. Once your goals are clear and written, your path begins to light up. Once your mornings belong to you, your days start serving you. Once you commit to daily growth, the world starts seeing your value. And once you upgrade your circle, your environment begins to reflect your destiny. Apply even one of these for the next 7 days and you will feel a shift. Apply all 5 with intensity and you will ignite a transformation so real even you won't recognize yourself. Your best self is not a fantasy. It's a decision away. 7 days, 5 truths, 1 new you. The question now is, will you begin today?